Friends, today we will study about protein biosynthesis. What do you mean by protein biosynthesis? All will study in details. The protein synthesis, which involves the translation of nucleotide based sequence of mRNA into the language of amino acid sequence, may be divided into five categories. Okay, five stages. First is requirement of components. Second is activation of amino acids. Third is protein synthesis. Fourth is chaperones and protein folding. Fifth is post translational modifications. Now let's know about requirements of components. The protein synthesis may be considered as a biochemical factor operating on ribosome. As a factor is dependent on the supply of raw materials to give a final product, the protein synthesis also requires many components like amino acids, ribosomes, messenger RNA, tRNA, that is transfer RNA, energies, different types of energy sources we require. First of all, we'll study about amino acids. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. Of the 20 amino acids found in protein structure, half of them can be synthesized by man. About 10 essential amino acids have to be provided through the diet. Protein synthesis can occur only when all the amino acids needed for a particular protein are available. If there is a deficiency in the dietary supply of any of the essential amino acids, the translation stops. It is therefore necessary that a regular dietary supply of essential amino acids in sufficient quantities is maintained, as it is prerequisite for the protein synthesis. As regards prokaryotes, there is no requirement of amino acids, since all the 20 amino acids are synthesized from the inorganic compounds. Now let's know about ribosomes. Second requirement is ribosomes. The functionally active ribosomes are the centers or factories for protein synthesis. Ribosomes may also be considered as workbenches of translation. Ribosomes are a huge complex structure of proteins and ribosomal RNAs. Each ribosome consists of two subunits, one big and one small. The functional ribosome has two sites, A site, one is A site and another is P site. Each site converts both the subunits. A site is for binding of amino acid tRNA and the P site is for binding peptidyl tRNA during the course of translation. Some authors consider A site as acceptor site and P site as a donor site. In case of eukaryotes, there is another site called exit site or E site. These eukaryotes contain three sites A, P, E on the ribosomes. The ribosomes are located in the chromosomal fraction of the cell. They are found in association with rough endoplasmic reticulum to form clusters. RER ribosomes, where the protein synthesis occurs. The term polyribosome is used when the several ribosomes simultaneously translate on a single mRNA, messenger RNA, mRNA. The specific information required for the synthesis of a given protein is present on the mRNA. The DNA has passed on the genetic information in the form of codons to mRNA to translate into a protein sequence. Now let's know about transfer RNA or tRNA. They carry the amino acids and hand them over to the growing peptide chain. The amino acid is covalently bound to tRNA at the 3' end. Each tRNA has a 3 nucleotide base sequence, the anticodon, which is responsible to recognize the codon of mRNA for complete synthesis. In man, there are about 50 different tRNAs, whereas In bacteria, around 40 tRNAs are found. Some amino acids have more than one tRNA. Now let's know about energy sources. Both ATP and GTP are required for the supply of energy in protein synthesis. Some of the reactions involve the breakdown of ATP or GTP respectively to AMP and GMP with the liberation of pyrophosphate. Each of these reactions consumes two high energy phosphates. 6 is protein factors. The process of translation involves a number of protein factors. These are needed for initiation, elongation and termination of protein synthesis. The protein factors are more complex in eukaryotes compared to prokaryotes. Now let's know about activation of amino acids. Amino acids are activated and attached to tRNAs in a two-step reaction. A group of enzymes, namely amino acyl tRNA synthetase, are required for this process. These enzymes are highly specific for the amino acid and the corresponding tRNA. The amino acid is first attached to the enzyme utilizing ATP to form enzyme AMP amino acid complex. The amino acid is then transferred to 3' end to the 3' end of the tRNA to form amino acid tRNA. Now let's know about protein synthesis proper or protein synthesis. The protein or polypeptide synthesis occurs on the ribosomes. The mRNA is read in the 5' end 5' to 3' end direction, and the polypeptide synthesis proceeds from N terminal end to C terminal end. Translation is directional and collinear with mRNA. The prokaryotic mRNA are polycistronic. Since a single mRNA has many coding regions that code for different polypeptides. In contrast, eukaryotic mRNA is monocistronic since it codes for a single polypeptide. In case of prokaryotes, translation commences before the transcription of the gene is completed. The simultaneous transcription and translation are possible. This is not so in case of eukaryotic organisms, since transcription occurs in the nucleus whereas translation takes place in the cytosol. For the primary transcript, that is hnRNA formed from DNA has to undergo several modifications to generate functional mRNA. Protein synthesis is comparatively simple in case of prokaryotes compared to eukaryotes. Further, many steps in eukaryotic translation were not understood for quite some time. For these reasons, majority of the textbooks earlier used to describe translation in prokaryotes. Now, translation in eukaryotes is briefly described. I have briefly described along with some relevant features of prokaryotic protein biosynthesis. And translation proper is divided into 3 stages. One is initiation, elongation and termination. 3 stages: initiation, elongation and termination. First, initiation. Okay. The initiation of translation in eukaryotes is complex, involving at least 10 eukaryotic initiation factors, EIFS. Some of the EIFS contain multiple subunits, 3 to 8. The process of translation initiation can be divided into 4 steps. One is ribosomal dissociation. Second is formation of 43S pre-initiation complex. Third is formation of 48S initiation complexes. And fourth is formation of 80S initiation complex. Ribosomal dissociation. First is ribosomal dissociation. The 80S ribosome dissociates to form 40S and 60S subunits. Two initiating factors, namely EIF3 and EIF1, bind to the newly formed 40S subunit and thereby block its reassociation with 60S subunit. For this reason, some workers name EIF3 and anti-association factor. Now, formation of 43S pre-initiation complex. A ternary complex containing MIT, tRNA-I and EIF2 bound to GTP attaches to 40S ribosomal subunit to form 43S pre-initiation complex. The presence of EIF3 and EIF1A stabilizes this complexes and hence the superscript is used to MET tRNA-I. Now let's know about formation of 48 initiation complex. The binding of mRNA to 43S pre-initiation complex results in the formation of 48S initiation complex through the intermediate 43S initiation complex. This, however, involves certain interactions between some of the EIFs and activation of mRNA. EIF4F complex is formed by the association of EIF4G, EIF4A with EIF4E. The so formed EIF4F binds to the cap of mRNA and then EIF4A and EIF4B bind to mRNA and to reduce its complex structure. This mRNA is then transferred to 43S complex. For the appropriate association of 43S pre-initiation complex with mRNA, energy has to be supplied by ATP. Now let's know about recognition of initiation codon. How you recognize initiation codon? The ribosomal initiation complex scans the mRNA for the identification of appropriate initiation codon. 5' AUG is the initiation codon and its recognition is facilitated by a specific sequence of nucleotides surrounding it. This marker sequence for the identification of AUG is called as Kozak consensus sequences. In case of prokaryotes, the recognition sequence of initiation codon is referred to as Sine-Dalgarno sequence. Now let's know about formation of ATS initiation complex. The last one. Fourth one. The 48S initiation complex binds to 60S ribosomal subunit to form ATS initiation complex. The binding involves the hydrolysis of GTP. This step is facilitated by the involvement of EIF5. As the ATS complex is formed, the initiation factors bound to 40S initiation complex are released and recycled. The activation of EIF2 requires EIF2B and GTP. The activated EIF2 requires EIF2C to form the ternary complex. Now, let's know about regulation of initiation. The EIF4F, a complex formed by the assembly of 3 initiation factors, controls initiation and thus the translation process. EIF4E, a component of EIF4F, is primarily responsible for the recognition of mRNA cap. And this step is the rate limiting in translation. EIF2, which is involved in the formation of 43S pre-initiation complex, also controls protein biosynthesis to some extent. Now let's know about initiation of translation in prokaryotes. The formation of translation initiation complex in prokaryotes is less complicated compared to eukaryotes. The 30S ribosomal subunit is bound to initiation factor 3, IF3, and attached to ternary complex of IF2, formyl MET tRNA and GTP. Another initiation factor, namely IF1, also participates in the formation of pre-initiation complex. The recognition of initiation codon AUG is done through Sine-Dalgarno sequence. A 50S ribosome subunit is now bound with the 30s unit to produce 70s initiation complex in prokaryotes. Let's know about elongation of translation. Ribosomes elongate the polypeptide chain by sequential addition of amino acids. The amino acid sequence is determined by the order of the codons in the specific mRNA. Elongation, that means a cyclic process involving certain elongation factors, may be divided into three types. It may be divided into three types. First is binding of amino acid tRNA to A site. Second is peptide bond formation. Third is translocation. Binding of amino acid tRNA to A site. The ATS initiation complex contains met tRNA I in the P site and the A site is free. Another amino acid tRNA is placed in the A site. This requires proper codon recognition on the mRNA and involvement of elongation factor 1 alpha and supply of energy by GTP. As the amino acid tRNA is placed in A site, EF1 alpha and GTP are recycled to bring another amino acid tRNA. Let's know about polypeptide bond formation. The enzyme peptide transferase catalyzes the formation of peptide bond. The activity of this enzyme lies on 28S RNA of 60S ribosomal subunit. It is therefore the rRNA referred to as the ribozyme that catalyzes the peptide bond formation. As the amino acid in the amino acyl tRNA is already activated, no additional energy is required for peptide bond formation. The net result of peptide bond formation is the attachment of the growing peptide chain to the tRNA in the A site. Now let's know about translocation. As the peptide bond formation occurs, the ribosome moves to the next codon of the mRNA. This process is called translocation. Basically, involves the movement of growing peptide chain from A site to P site. Translocation requires EF2 and GTP. GTP gets hydrolyzed and supplies energy to move mRNA. EF2 and GTP complex recycles for translocation. In recent years, another site, namely exit site, has been identified in eukaryotes. The deacylated tRNA moves into the E site from where it leaves the ribosome. In case of prokaryotes, the elongation factors are different and they are EFTU, EFTS and EFG. Now let's know about incorporation of amino acids. It is estimated that about 6 amino acids per second are incorporated during the course of elongation of translation in eukaryotes. In case of prokaryotes, as many as 20 amino acids can be incorporated per second. Thus, the process of protein or polypeptide synthesis in translation occurs with great speed and accuracy. Now let's know about termination of translation. Termination is a simple process when compared to initiation and elongation. After several cycles of elongation incorporating amino acids and the formation of the specific protein or polypeptide molecule, one of the stop or termination signals, that is UAA, UAG and UCA, terminates the growing polypeptide. The termination codons, which acts as stop signals, do not have specific tRNAs to bind. As the termination codon occupies the ribosomal A site, the release factor, namely ERF, recognizes the stop signal. ERF GTP complex in association with the enzyme peptidyl transferase clips the peptide bond between the polypeptide and the tRNA occupying the P site. In this reaction, a water molecule instead of an amino acid is added. This hydrolysis releases the protein and tRNA from the P site. The ATS ribosome dissociates to form 40S and 60S subunits which are recycled. The mRNA is also released. Now let's know about inhibitors of protein synthesis. Translation is a complex process and it has become a favorite target for inhibition by antibiotics. Antibiotics are the substances produced by bacteria or fungi which inhibit the growth of other organisms. Majority of the antibiotics interfere with the bacterial protein synthesis and are harmless to higher organisms. It is due to the fact that the process of translation sufficiently differs between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. The action of a few important antibiotics on translation is streptomycin, like this. We study in brief. Let's know about first is streptomycin. Streptomycin. Initiation of protein synthesis is inhibited by streptomycin. It causes misreading of mRNA and interferes with a normal pairing between codons and anticodons. Next is tetracycline. What do you mean by tetracycline? It inhibits the binding of amino acid tRNA to the ribosomal complex. In fact, tetracycline can also block eukaryotic protein synthesis. This, however, does not happen since eukaryotic cell membrane is not permeable to this drug. Puromycin. Next is puromycin. This has a structural resemblance to amino acid tRNA. Puromycin enters the A site and gets incorporated into the growing peptide chain and causes its release. This antibiotic prevents protein synthesis in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now let's know about chloramphenicol. It acts as a competitive inhibitor of the enzyme peptidyl transferase and thus interferes with elongation of peptide chain. Erythromycin. It inhibits translocation by binding with 50S subunit of bacterial ribosome. Diphtheria toxin. It prevents translocation in eukaryotic protein synthesis by inactivating elongation factor EF2. Now let's know about chaperones and protein foldings. The three-dimensional conformation of proteins is important for their biological functions. Some of the proteins can spontaneously generate the correct functionally active conformation. Example, denatured pancreatic ribonuclease. However, a vast majority of proteins can attain correct conformation only through the assistance of certain proteins referred to as chaperones. Chaperones are heat shock proteins in response to heat shock. They facilitate and favor the interactions on the polypeptide surfaces to finally give the specific conformation of a protein. Chaperones can reversely bind to hydrophobic regions of unfolded proteins and folding intermediates. They can stabilize intermediates, prevent formation of incorrect intermediates, also prevent undesirable interactions with other proteins. All these activities of chaperones help the protein to attain compact and biologically active conformation. Now let's know about types of chaperones. Chaperones are categorized into two major groups. First is HSP70 system. Another is chaperonine system. First is HSP70 system. Let's know about it. Brief in this about this. This mainly consists of HSP70 and HSP40. HSP70 means 70 kilodalton heat shock protein and HSP40 means 40 kilodalton HSP. These proteins can bind individually to the substrate or protein and help in the correct formation of the protein folding. Now let's know about chaperoning system. This is a large oligomeric assembly which forms a structure into which the folded proteins are inserted. The chaperoning system mainly has HSP 60 and HSP 10, that is 60 kilodalton HSP and 10 kilodalton HSP. Chaperonins are required as a latter part of the protein folding process and often work in association with HSP 70 system. Now let's know about protein misfolding and diseases. The failure of a protein is fold properly generally lead to its rapid degeneration. Cystic fibrosis, CF, in short CF, cystic fibrosis is a common autosomal recessive disease. Some cases of CF with mutations that result in altered protein, cystic fibrosis, transmembrane conductance regulator, or in short CFTR have been reported. Mutated CFTR cannot fold properly besides not being able to get glycosylated or transported. Therefore, CFTR gets degraded. Certain neurological diseases which are due to cellular accumulation of aggregates of misfolded proteins or their partially degraded products have been identified. The term prions, proteinaceous infectious agents, is used to collectively represent them. Prions exhibit the characteristics of viral or microbial pathogens and have been implicated in many diseases. Example, mad cow diseases, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, Alzheimer's disease, Huntington's disease. Let's know about post-translational modifications of proteins. The protein synthesized in translation are as such not functional. Many changes takes place in the polypeptides after the initiation of their synthesis or most frequently after the protein synthesis is completed. These modifications include protein folding, trimming by proteolytic degradation, intane splicing, and covalent changes which are collectively known as post-translational modifications. Proteolytic degradation. Let's know about proteolytic degradation. Many proteins are synthesized as the precursors which are much bigger in size than the functional proteins. Some portions of precursor molecules are removed by proteolysis to liberate active proteins. This process, commonly referred as trimming, may occur in Golgi apparatus, secretory vesicles, and sometimes after the secretion of proteins. The formation of insulin from proinsulin, conversion of zymogens to the active enzymes are some examples of trimming. The synthesis of proteins are inactive precursors and their later conversion into active form may be to protect the functional protein unit from the environmental insults. Now, intine splicing. Let's know about intine splicing. Intines are intervening sequences in certain proteins. These are comparable to introns in mRNAs. Intines are to be removed and extins ligated in the appropriate order for the proteins to become activate. Now let's know about covalent modifications. The proteins synthesized in translation are subjected to many covalent changes. By these modifications in the amino acids, the proteins may be converted to active form or inactivate form. Selected examples of covalent modifications are described. Now, first is phosphorylation, second is hydroxylation, third is glycosylation. Three types of modifications are there. Covalent modifications are there. So first, phosphorylation. The hydroxyl group containing amino acid of proteins, namely serine, threonine, and tyrosine, are subjected to phosphorylation. The phosphorylation may either increase or decrease the activity of the proteins. A group of enzymes called protein kinases catalyze phosphorylation while protein phosphatase are responsible for dephosphorylation. Many examples of enzymes that undergo phosphorylation or dephosphorylation are known as metabolism. Now let's know about hydroxylation. Second is hydroxylation. During the formation of collagen, the amino acids proline and lysine are respectively converted to hydroxyproline and hydroxy hydroxylysine. This hydroxylation occurs in the endoplasmic reticulum and requires vitamin C. Glycosylation. Let's know about third is glycosylation. The attachment of carbohydrate moiety is essential for some proteins to perform their functions. The complex carbohydrate moiety is attached to the amino acids serine and threonine or to asparagine, leading to the synthesis of glycoproteins. Vitamin K dependent carboxylation of glutamic acid residues in certain clotting factors is also a post-translational modification. Completed. Thank you.